I feel that the product uses, develops and challenges forms and conventions of real media products. For instance, the title Traffic does not challenge the thriller genre, as the name can suggest what is going to happen to the body washed up on shore, without going into too much detail of the plot, much like that of Inception. Another way it does not challenge the thriller genre would be through the use of the bold, provocative title sequence often used in real thrillers. However, I feel the location of the film does challenge the conventions of real thrillers. For example, the contrast between the bright natural landscape and the dark misty beach where the four characters are introduced. The characters with weapons, however, clearly support the conventions used in real thrillers. They wear dark face concealing costumes, successfully creating a scary vibe. The editing of the film clearly develops as it is a thriller. For instance, the cross-dissolve effect from one shot to another keeps the audience watching, wondering what is going to happen next. The opening can be compared to films such as, like I mentioned earlier, Inception, in order to evaluate social groups. For instance, the body washed up on shore is very much like that of Leonardo DiCaprio at the beginning of Inception. Due to them both being very male, and therefore it is likely that Hudson's film would attract a similar sort of audience to that of Inception. Some additional traits include the fact that they are both very masculine looking and yet both in very weak positions. However, this could also suggest that both films challenge the character stereotype. With the film being a thriller, it could be distributed by production companies such as Universal or Warner Bros, who have produced big films such as Bourne Trilogy, Inception, The Adjustment Bureau and the classic Who Shot Roger Rabbit.
In this next clip, we asked Jake Mullins to see if he was a likely candidate to be in my target audience for my film.
So what kind of music do you listen to?
Mostly R&B.
What's your favourite musician?
I'd say Frank Ocean.
And your favourite TV programme?
How I Met Your Mother.
And where exactly do you shop?
Mad Hatter.
Why do you watch thrillers?
Mainly the on-edge suspense.
In order to attract my audience, I used YouTube annotations on the final product. They refer to genre conventions, in this case thriller, the sound, and similarities and contrasts to other thrillers. As I wanted to attract thrill seekers, I tried to stay along the conventions that follow thrillers. For instance, the bold title sequence, the faces of the gunmen never being exposed and therefore concealing their identities, and the natural sound that has been produced has a provocative effect, this being the biggest factor in my film introduction to attract my audience. Technologies I've used include the use of camera, tripod and various computer programs such as Final Cut Pro, After Effects, Soundtrack Pro. Soundtrack Pro I learnt the most from. For instance, I recorded all my audio on Soundtrack, not actually during the filming, and therefore learnt a lot about adopting the audio and soundtrack to the footage of my film. When it came to the use of camera, I learned a great deal. For instance, how to change the depth of field using the ISO, how to focus it. This could be seen when contrasting my preliminary task and my final film. And finally, the tripod was used to full effect during the filming of my final product. There's clear contrast between the final product and my preliminary task. For instance, the editing. I learned how to use other cutting methods such as cross-dissolve instead of just a normal cut.
The camera. In my preliminary, the camera is very unfocused. However, in my final product, I managed to master the use of the camera to a certain extent, due to the clear footage seen in my final product.
Also, since filming my preliminary task, I've learned a great deal about the use of editing in camera shots. For example, during my preliminary, there is only a simple cut method used, whereas in my final film and evaluation there has been various cutting methods such as the cross-dissolve effect.